She's got grace. She's a winner.
She's indeed a winner.
She's a lady.
Lyn Rowe, certified financial planner, in the house with me. She's a CFP, and she's been around this game for a long, long time, focusing on healthcare, post-retirement and pre-retirement healthcare needs, long-term healthcare in particular. But I want to start with Lyn, if I may, just running a couple of thoughts by her from my first segment on the fiduciary standard. Lyn, here's my take on it. I'll be interested in yours, because I know you've been a CFP, you've charged fees, you've done commissions, you've done it all as well as I did back in the past. I think that the regulators are basically overreacting to this, and the Department of Labor.
They never do that, Ray.
Yeah, and because as you well know, there's a fine mutual fund company, which will remain nameless, as I was talking about beforehand, who just did an exhaustive study, by the way, on this whole idea of active management versus passive management. Because one could argue that I would be breaching my fiduciary standard if I ever recommended an actively managed fund, because they're way more expensive than index funds, and 80% of the active managers don't beat the index, so you're breaching your standard, the fiduciary standard, by selling me anything other than an indexed portfolio. And I know academics that would actually make that accusation. Well, this front-end load mutual fund company does a study, an exhaustive study, which I've talked about on the air before. And what they determined is if, in fact, your fees, bar the load for just a minute, if your ongoing management fees are in the top quartile of the lowest cost, and you eat your own cooking, meaning the manager invests their own money in the fund, in 100% of the domestic cases, the mutual fund that was managed beat their respective benchmark index. Stunning. And in fact, this particular mutual fund beat the averages by a substantial amount. So these guys have a phenomenal track record. They're very big. They're enormous. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Sure I do.
So that being said, do you agree with me that this is somewhat of an overreaction? Because I think I could make a case that anyone that ever sold you something for a commission has violated a fiduciary standard, or if nothing else, could be called on the carpet to have to defend any recommendation. And God forbid if they sold you something, got paid a commission, and it went down, you're dead meat.
Yeah, well, you know, Ray, as you say, we saw this happen with clients for many years, and I had to go back a couple of times with money managers and eat my lunch because it just did not perform as well as some of the load funds. And so we actually had people come in and request we move money over into these load funds.
It's just less expensive for many. And again, I'm not opposed to paying a fee, but as I said in my first segment, you pay the advisory fee for the advice, not for the money management.
Yes.
Because if they're using a third-party money manager, it's up to that third-party money manager to do their thing with respect to how they rebalance the portfolio and all that stuff. But if you're paying a 1% markup, as many of the fee-only advisors do, and I got news for you, if you're paying your fee-only advisor to give you advice and manage the money, I contend that they ain't going to be worth their salt managing money. I've tried it. I can tell you the people that manage money spend full time with their noses in a screen all day long, and they don't have time to talk to you about your long-term care.
That is exactly right, or anything else for that matter.
Well, of course it's exactly right. It's my show. Don't laugh at me. Okay, let's talk about this whole subject, because I know this is near and dear to your heart. We have discussed this before. The actual real costs, when you get into the weeds on what it costs for care for a family member, for example, it's going to cost you more than the actual cost of the care, isn't it?
Well, what people don't take into account is when you are taking care of a parent, let's say, in your home, there are a lot of things that you're going to spend money on. First of all, you're not going to be at work full time. You're not going to be subject to getting those bonuses because they can't rely on you to be there when they say, you know, show up. You're going to be losing out on Social Security benefits because you're taking time off from work, and that adds up because you reduce your income. I mean, we've seen it with employers. Employers have had issues with this for years with family caregivers, but the real cost to being that family caregiver also is not showing up in the fact that you put in the ramps, you put in the grab bars, you get the medical alert system, you do all the things that would normally be covered in a long-term care plan that's covered by an insurance company. So those things add up to something in the neighborhood of 10 to plus a year.
10 what? Thousand?
Yes.
So if a caregiver makes $50,000 a year, you're telling me that they're going to be giving up not only their income, but adding another 20% of what they used to make?
And the studies that they've done showing the loss of income of the family caregiver don't take those soft costs into account. They're simply looking at the hard dollars you're losing by being off work.
You know, you bring up Social Security too, and I knew about that, but I hadn't really thought about it until you mentioned it. The Social Security, folks, is calculated based on 35 years of work in the system. So if you're given, care for 6-7 years, you miss 6 or 7 years of those 35 years.
Exactly right.
So instead of getting 35/35ths of your benefit, expected benefit, you might be getting 26/35ths of the benefit, which could be a fairly substantial reduction in benefits depending on how much your income was. I mean, there's a lot of different, the wealthier you are, the less of an impact it would have. And of course, the less wealthy you are, or income, you would have a greater impact.
Exactly. Well, we've seen this for years with women who lost income and Social Security benefits because they were caregivers to kids. Well, now they being in this sandwich situation, they're oftentimes the caregivers for parents, husbands, in-laws, and they're losing it at the other end. So their Social Security benefits are taking a huge hit because women tend to be the caregivers, let's face it.
All right, I've got to talk to you about something that's near and dear to my heart, my father.
Yes.
My father will be, we think he's going to be 90. He keeps saying he's already 90, but I think we went back and looked at his birth certificate, baby boy Lucia. That's what it said on his birth certificate. Oh. And I think he's going to be 90. It was the old Sicilian, mother and all that stuff. They couldn't speak a word of English. Anyway, what's interesting is he's fine.
Yeah.
His mind is pretty fine. He doesn't have any of the activities of daily living problems. But he's 90 years old. Who's going to insure a 90-year-old for long-term care?
We have a plan now, and it's not insurance. It is actually a nonprofit organization, but we have a plan now where we can help those folks, and it's wonderful because most of these people, they might be with their family. They might be with a son or a daughter, but the son or daughter still is taking care of their kids. They're still they're still in jobs and so forth. During the daytime, they want somebody to keep an eye on mom or dad or be there for them and prepare the meals for them and so forth. Well, there are plans that can help.
Well, this is really, really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And we have to go to a break here in a minute. But when we come back from the break, I want to talk to you about this because, my dad, we all work and, we are, the 5 kids rotate around. Sometimes the grandkids get involved and all that stuff. But it's taxing. It's really, really difficult.
Yes.
And he's getting to the stage where he needs somebody.
Yeah.
He won't eat because he won't cook anymore. My dad's a phenomenal cook. But he won't even go near it,
The meatballs. I remember the meatballs.
He makes a mean meatball, a spicy meatball, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
In either event, when we come back from the break, we're going to see if Lyn can help my dad. How's that? 844-RAY-SHOW. If you want to chat with Lyn about this is something that's so important. You can go to her website, by the way, iwantmyltc.net. If you don't do this, listen, she has solutions for even a 90-year-old who's in reasonably good health. But if something happens and he loses his ability, with those activities of daily living, then the bets are off. So stick around, folks. Lyn Rowe, more with Lyn when we come back. Welcome back, folks. The Ray program, 844-RAY-SHOW. That's because it's my show. Otherwise, if it was Lyn's show, it'd be 844-LYN-SHOW, L-Y-N. What happened to the other N in your name, by the way?
I never had one.
You never had the other N.
No.
Everybody else is L-Y-N-N.
But see, that's their name. Lyn is my nickname, so.
Oh, Lyn is your nickname.
It's abbreviated like me.
Lynette? Abbreviated like you. You know what? That's why I have her on for 2 segments every week because she's a delight. Lyn Rowe promised to help me with my father during the break. And I want to talk about this because there are a lot of people out there that are still relatively healthy but can't qualify for long-term health care. I mean, a good 50% of the people over age 60, 65, I think, are getting turned down for it. So my dad, who by all rights is pretty healthy, you know, he can still drive, he takes care of himself. He could cook if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. In fact, doesn't want to do anything. And he'll be 90. And, you know, we all sort of team up, but everybody's busy. And we would love to have somebody come and spend some time with him when we're all at work. Because you know, somebody will take him to breakfast and take him to my mom's cemetery. He goes there every day, does a little Morse code message on her grave, and then goes home and sits after breakfast. And then at dinner time, one of us goes and picks him up and takes care of him. So we rotate that around. But during the day, he gets really lonely. Yeah. So he can't qualify for traditional long-term care. Are you telling me that you have a potential solution to that?
I do. Here's the thing: you know, the plan is there for people who are in what should I say, good enough health that they're managing their 6 ADLs: bathing, dressing, eating, toileting, transferring, and so forth. They also cannot be in care. So if somebody can answer yes and no to those 2 questions, no, I'm not in care, and yes, I have control over all of those 6 activities of daily living, then they can't be turned down. Now, the key is that you're going to have a bank of hours, and you're going to be calling this organization and saying, when you need the care, I want somebody to come out. And they're going to send somebody out from a national organization that is vetted, bonded, licensed, trained custodial caregivers.
So this isn't insurance. We should be clear about that. Right. This is more like a fraternal organization or something like that.
It's a membership. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay, but still, there are no options. Yeah. For my dad, there are no options other than us. Now for us, you know, our time is quite valuable. I'm on the air 3 hours a day. I do show prep 3-4 hours a day. So I'm pretty tired by the time I'm through doing my work. Right. And even if I could break away, I have got, you know, 2-3 hours in between my morning show and my afternoon show. So I go, hey, Dad, how you doing? Let's grab a burger, and, you know, off we go. Yeah. Somebody's going to get really mad at me. You're feeding your 90-year-old father burgers? Yeah, with cheese and the whole deal. He doesn't care, all right?
At 90, he can have anything he wants.
He barely eats anymore, which is really surprising, because once upon a time, he could pound down like a whole pound of spaghetti.
Taste buds start to go.
Yeah, I know. So you're saying that I could buy, let's say I wanted to buy 3 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Well, you buy packages. So the packages come with a certain number of hours and lifetime hours. And without going into the weeds on this on the air, it's, depending on the package, it's like a golf membership. You know, any tea time on Saturdays and Sundays is the most expensive golf membership. Whereas, you know, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday is the least expensive golf membership. Well, you buy packages of hours up front. And those packages of hours, you're going to want to use those in a way that's beneficial to you. You're not going to want to use them for just somebody to come in and visit. So you're pre-buying those hours at a deep, deep discount.
Okay, so we're talking about the health care, and you've come up with this, and by the way, I've never heard of this. Until Lyn Rowe came around, I'd never heard that a person that is healthy enough but still can't qualify due to age or some other circumstance can get, while it's not insurance, can get some form of coverage. And that to me is really exciting. So back to my dad's situation, what you're saying is I could buy 1,000 hours, right? And someone comes in 3-4 hours a day, and when the 1,000 hours are up, can I re-up and buy another 1,000?
What happens is that you go 90 days where you either, the family takes care of him, or you go ahead and pay for the hours out of pocket. The 91st day, it rejuvenates. And it does that 10 times as long as you keep.
But I got to pay for it, right?
Well, you pay your dues, your annual dues, that's all.
And the annual dues are how much?
Depends on the package.
Oh, so you would pay.
You could do like 150
Is it like an
hours?
annual premium? It's similar to that?
Well, it's like an annual premium, remembering that, of course, this is not insurance. It's like an annual dues to a golf club or
Got
to.
it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
How do people get information on this? Because I know there's a whole lot of people out there that are either anti the long-term care thing, or they've been turned down. But you know, maybe they were turned down because they were overweight or something like that. Right. So I mean, obesity is a
height
health
and weight charts don't exist.
Height and weight charts don't exist. That's just phenomenal. I love this deal.
Yeah.
So how do they get information on this?
Give me a call at 877-270-3127. 877-270-3127, or my website, which Ray remembers is
I want my LTC.net.
net.
Not com.
Is in safety net.
.net. I want my LTC.net. Just sing along with it. I want my LTC.net. That's what we do around here. Listen, Lyn, this is great information, but you also deal with all of the other forms of long-term health care and critical care and all that stuff, right?
Yep. Disability insurance is something that people don't have and they don't realize until they're off work. That's where critical care can help, and disability insurance kind of work together to give you income and take care of the extra bills.
You know, I have a great deal of respect for you. You gave up the wealthy job, the money management, you know, financial planning. That's where the big money is made. And you're focusing on an area where you have to really work your tail off. And the amount that you make is less, but I know you're so passionate about it. And I think you deserve a round of applause from everybody out there. Okay, yeah, thank you. See that? Look, I got you a standing Bobby Woo.
Woo, look at that.